Hi, I'm Suze Shaner with Sage Leadership Strategies, and I'm your host today of Community Forum. And today we are going to highlight UUCD, which stands for the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Danbury, affectionately known as UUCD. And the organization is having its 200th anniversary on December 9th of this year, 2022. And I've got three members with a range of experience, and we're going to have a panel discussion about their experience joining this organization. So the first person I'm going to introduce is Margaret Henderson. Welcome, Margaret.
Hi, good to be here.
Great to have you. And Margaret is the current board of trustees of the organization. Can you just share when you came to the organization and your reasons for joining UCD?
Yeah, I'm the current president of the board. I started, I joined UUCD right after we moved to Danbury in 2018. I was looking for a church in town, and I went to UUCD first, and I was going to try out some others, but I liked it so much I never left.
That's curious. So why did you never leave? I mean, what you didn't go to any others? It's like, nope, this is it.
I really liked the people, and I moved here from the Midwest, where one of the things I really like about Unitarian Universalism is that it doesn't dictate what creed you have to believe about the existence of God. It supports each person in their individual search. And it wasn't all the ways that way at churches, Christian churches in the Midwest. And I just find the people really interesting. There's a real breadth of interests, but they're curious like I am, and they really enjoy going in depth in things. And okay. I like the variety.
So I want to hear, we're going to hear more about it. I also want to get some of our other guests on. We have also joining us one of our longest tenured members. I'm purposely saying it that way, not the oldest, but the longest tenured member, Marie Dupree.
Hi there.
Hi, Marie. Welcome. So
thank you.
Can you share, if you want to share when you came, but around the time when you came and what you were looking for?
So I came in 1969, three weeks before I gave birth to my son, who is now 53. And we were both searching for a community that we felt comfortable in. And Unitarian Universalist was our spirit home in essence. My husband and I both felt comfortable in that. We've been married for 57 years, and we've never had any discussions about the church or about UUCD that were separate of us.
Oh, that's interesting. So were you were looking for a community?
Yes.
And you mentioned spirit home. I'm curious about that term. And was it anything about religion in particular, or just a spiritual home?
It was a freedom from religion for me. When I first came here, I wouldn't sing any of the hymns. I was very anti-religion and anti-hymns and stuff like that. So, but slowly I came around to that.
What got you singing the hymns?
I don't know. I just the hymns. Most of the hymns are pretty. They may have a concept of, onward Christian soldiers, but they have different words.
Yeah. Some of the tunes,
and that's what appealed to me.
Okay. And in full disclosure with our audience, I've been part of this community for 22 years, but really what you're both hitting on is a lot of people, some people are born into UUism, and some people come to UUism through a variety of different means. And we have a lot of people who were raised by very different traditions. And I remember a few years ago, we did a survey and we have a range of people. Some people still consider themselves Buddhist, atheist, agnostic, with Christian tradition, Judeo, Jewish tradition. So it's really interesting mix. I want to invite one of our newest, not newest, but one of our newer members, Dan Fitzgerald. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Now I know you came in the fall of 2019, right?
Yes, I did.
So what were you looking for when you came to this community?
So my answer is going to be a little different. I actually became Unitarian Universalist when I was living in upstate New York. I lived in Binghamton, New York for about 10 years. And around 2009, February 2009, I narrowly avoided getting laid off from my job. And I was very, very stressed out. And, I'd been meaning to find a religious community. I'd learned about Unitarian Universalism, oddly enough, I learned the elevator pitch for what Unitarian Universalism is through a character in the play about the murder in Laramie, Wyoming, of the young gay gentleman back in the 90s. And one of the characters in the play was a UU minister and gave the elevator pitch about what Unitarian Universalism was. So I saw that for a class when I was in college.
Dan, what was that elevator pitch that you remembered?
That Unitarian Universalism has it doesn't have a particular it has a creed, but not a belief system. I think one way to describe it, I'm a practicing neo-pagan druid. I'm a member of Arnriach Fane, a druid fellowship. And one of the things we say a lot in ADF is orthopraxy versus orthodoxy. We care what people do when they are in our space versus what they believe when they are at home. You can believe whatever in an ADF context, you can believe whatever you want on the various natures of the gods. But what we really care about is that if you are worshiping with us, you're going to follow our liturgy. And, and one of the things about Unitarian Universalism, it's a religion that is centered around a series of beliefs about not about the nature of the divine external to us, but the nature of the divine inside of us and how we treat each other. So there are these 8 principles that Unitarian Universalism has, in the United States anyway, which are really the core of the religion. And it's a set of guidelines for how we agree to treat each other and what we feel is important about the value of ourselves and other people. And that's really the backbone of Unitarian Universalism.
Yeah. So it sounds like what attracted you was seeking something different than what you had at the time.
Well, I had been, I'd been raised mainline Protestant, and I'm one of the. So when you get involved in Unitarian Universalism and in paganism, because the same kind of people, you get the same thing from people coming to the religion. A lot of people come from traumatic religious backgrounds. A lot of people came out of their religion of origin with a very bad taste in their mouth, and I am strange in that I actually came out of Methodism with a very good taste in my mouth. I liked the religion, I just didn't believe in it. It was a fine religion, but I wasn't on board with taking the Bible literally. And now that I'm older, I realize most mainline Protestants don't either.
You're hitting on an important point, and that is that UUism does have people who are moving away from something or recovering from something, And there's also people who are seeking something either that they don't have or that resonates with them more. So I appreciate that you kind of led us into the discussion around what is UUism. And I'm wondering, Margaret, can you just tell us even a little bit more about what UUism is and how it's fundamentally different from other religions?
Yeah, I think Dan's description was pretty good. There are people moving away from religions that they found too restrictive or that they didn't agree with. There also, we have a number of families where the two parents are from different religions. And so Unitarian Universalism welcomes all comers, as long as you believe in the things that most religions believe in, like the worth and dignity of every individual, justice, peace. We do have a strong commitment to spiritual growth. So as a UU, I understand that I'm responsible not only for my own ongoing spiritual development, but also to support others around me in seeking theirs. And we also have a pretty strong commitment to putting our faith into action, to living it out. So if we believe in justice or we believe in world peace, well, what are we going to go do about that to make it happen? We try to really show up and things that improve the world.
Sorry, you're going to add something that Dan mentioned, and I have had one of our former ministers on this show, and one of the things she said, she was raised Catholic. One of the things she said is, Catholics are really focused a lot on what happens after you die, and she said, we're really focused on what happens after you're born, meaning. But I will, having said, I don't want any people who are Catholic to think that's not true. There's a very strong social justice component to Catholicism as well. But what you're hitting on is there's a very strong social justice component to UUism, and you started reciting some of the tenets of the 8 guiding principles. For example, one of them being a free and responsible search for truth. Oh, Marie, so you turn off your phone. Can you turn off the ringer? Thank you. We should have done that before the show. So you're hitting on definitely some really important facts. So it sounds like you all have your different reasons for kind of landing at UUCD. I'm wondering if we could talk about why you've stayed. So Marie, you're the longest tenured one. So what has kept you at UUCD? What benefit, what value have you derived from being part of this community?
Okay. So the community is very important to us. The fact that it's an open religion, that we're doing things beyond ourselves. The fact that the religious education program was very strong when my children were growing up. And so both of them have grown up in Unitarian Universalism. And I can see that their values today reflect the values of Unitarian Universalism. They're non-judgmental. They're I don't know.
Well, you're getting on something.
They also had a program called About Your Sexuality, which was very important. I don't know much about it, but it was very important for us to have our children understand what their sexuality is all about and respect for other people.
Yes, what you're speaking to, Marie, is a couple of things. First, in terms of the RE program, it does, I like to say, any excuse for a holy day and a holiday. I mean, it does appreciate holy days and holidays of many religions. And I say this, I've taught in the RE program for 15 years. I think I learned as much, maybe more than the kids, about different religions that I never grew up knowing anything about. The OWL program, Our Whole Lives, OWL, is a program that teaches the youth about sexuality, but particularly focused on the relationship aspect. Of
Yes.
course, there's the biology in there, but there is the relationship aspect. Margaret, I feel you were going to say something there.
I just wanted to reinforce that we call it RE, but that stands for religious education. It's what would be Sunday school in other traditions, but in ours, it's much more, like Susan was saying, comprehensive and educational about the options, and then encouraging the family to make their own choices rather than telling them what they have to believe.
Yeah. So Dan, so you've stayed through the pandemic.
Yes.
And obviously the community largely went online, now is hybrid, but what benefit have you derived from being part of this community?
Well, the thing I really like, and something that's important to explain to the audience, if you're not familiar with Unitarian Universalism, it's the kind of church the Unitarian Universalist churches are. It's what we call a congregational church. It is run very much. We have it's run like the Congregationalist Christians in a way. The Congregationalist Christians are the United Church of Christ, which we are not officially associated, we're not part of the same religion, but we came from the same religious tradition. It's very much like UUism, but Christian. And we both came out of one of the most restrictive, patriarchal religious movements that North America has ever seen, which is our friends, the Pilgrims. We come out of the old Puritan church. One of the things and actually they mentioned OWL, my understanding is that we actually share programs with United Church of Christ. Like I believe UCC also does the same OWL program that we do. And I know we share summer camps in some places. Now, what I like about Congregationalist churches, it's run by the congregation. You are a member of a community. You're not going into a church where everything is being run by the minister. It is very much run by the church. The minister serves at the behest of the congregation. Some congregations don't even have a minister. We didn't have a minister for most of my time here. We were perpetually in the ministerial search process.
Well, what I would say is just a clarification.
Okay.
What typically happens in UU churches is that when a minister leaves, it's intentional that there's an interim minister, which is about, helping the congregation understand how they benefited from the previous one, what they want the next one. So usually there's a year or two in between. We did have a permanent settled part-time minister, which is, I think, what you're referring to. So it wasn't completely in flux, but it's intentional about having an interim minister. I want to just pause here for a second regarding what you're referring to is the running of the congregation and the board. And
Yeah.
it is run by the Board of Trustees, and Margaret is the president of the board. Margaret, is there anything else that you want to say about that?
Well, I think, again, I pretty much agree with what Dan said, that the Unitarian Universalists are, I would say, careful about authority, about putting people in charge of what they do. So it's a religion. We do have a national organization, the UUA, but it's very much a grassroots from the bottom up organization. There's very little they can tell us to do. So yeah, we do pick our own minister. Every UU minister is ordained by a particular congregation. There's not a central ordaining authority. So yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious, just Dan, to go back to you for a second in terms of, so you like the congregational life, that's appealing, but anything in particular about UUism that is important to you, or you feel like you really connect or resonate with?
Yes. I like, there's a couple of things. There's this idea in UUism that not everybody has all the answers, and that everybody has different truths, and that it's important it follows from that it's important for us to respect other people's beliefs and listen to them and learn from them, as well as teach our own. And the other thing that comes from that is a drive and an encouragement to learn, to research other belief systems, to research your own theology, to build your own
Can I
theology.
add something to that? Because that's a
Yeah.
really good point. So there is, and I want to talk for a minute because you're leading me to this. There is a adult programming as well. And when you said I took a course as part of this congregation, build your own theology. Now I know in some religions that might be almost blasphemous, but I found it to be a really fascinating course and there's a whole curriculum around it in terms of learning about different religions, really reflecting on what is it that you believe. Do any of you want to take this next question that I have around?
Well, I'd actually like to make a statement off of that very briefly, which comes off of that and ties into the previous question about things I like about the religion.
Yeah.
I remember in my old congregation, what we would UUCB up in Binghamton, we had a moving up ceremony for youth that were graduating from the RE program, that seniors that had finished the RE program. And I liked comparing it to, when I was growing up and we finished our confirmation class, we all, agreed that we were actually Christian, and we got crosses and all that stuff. What's really cool about the UU version is each member of that graduating class stood up in front of the congregation and said what their beliefs were.
Yeah,
At least
so what you're referring to, I just want to clarify for our audience, what you're referring to is it's a bridging ceremony for our youth who are graduating from youth programs, and they do share their own credos in terms of, what so far, work in progress, what they believe. So I'm just curious, given the adult programming, I'm wondering, Marie, I'm asking you, Marie, just because you've been around for a lot of cycles of this. What's been and by the way, your husband Keith was in my Build Your Own Theology course. What's your experience with the adult programming?
It goes back a long way. There used to be programs that I was involved in. I don't think I ever took Building Your Own Theology, but the adult programs were very important. And my husband ran Movies with a Message for several years, many years.
Oh,
and,
so just for our audience, can I add to that? So what he would do is, because I went to some of those, they were really interesting. He would air movies from an organization called Spiritual Cinema, and then we would have discussions afterwards. It was always very enlightening. But go on, I didn't want to interrupt.
No, so that's part of the adult programming that used to occur. The other thing that socialization and so many programs that we had with potlucks and group parties and things like this, they were really important to me.
So yeah, I want to pick up on that if I may. This is Margaret. Socializing, that's why a lot of people find a religious community, right? Because they want to belong and be part of a group of like-minded people. That was a challenge during the pandemic, of course, as it was for everybody, but we really beefed up our online and video presence. We still do our services in person every Sunday morning at 10, but also online. Another ongoing adult education thing we have is a program called Spiritually Speaking. Last I heard, I believe they were reading a book by Eckhart Tolle about just about self-actualization and figuring out what you believe and sort of fulfilling your destiny.
Yeah. So Margaret, I'm wondering if you can just give a headline on the social action.
Yeah. We have in fact, we're a sanctuary church. We have I was trying to think of the name of it. Immigration support for immigrants contingent. And we established living quarters, really, if somebody wants to seek sanctuary, like in Notre Dame or something, where when you're in the church, you're safe. We've never had that happen, but we have the facility. We also did a lot with voting rights and encouraging people to make sure they're registered and vote. We do a lot with a food bank in Danbury and serving meals once a month to the homeless. So it's a wide variety of stuff.
Okay. We only have 2 minutes. I want to give you each a chance. So this is going to be literally a headline in terms of, it could be even one word, how you would describe this community. Dan, go.
Loving.
Okay, Marie.
One word, huh?
A couple words.
It's a group that I feel comfortable with.
Okay.
It fits my my beliefs.
Okay. And Margaret, your one word, and then how someone would contact UCD if they were interested in learning more.
Thinking and acting in accordance with their beliefs is how I would describe it. We are online at uudanbury.org, and or you can call our office and leave a message. That's area code 203-798-1994. We're located at 24 Clapboard Ridge Road, and we have services every Sunday at 10 and some other things going on some other times. So yeah, check us out on our website.
Okay, and that's right off exit 8 off 84. So uudanbury.org, the phone number 203-798-1994. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Sue Shaner. Until next time with Community Forum.